hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
I have a problem with Lisa. She said that I hit her.
What? Well, did you?
No, it's not true. Don't even ask.
The Room is quite simply one of a kind. It's been called everything from the Citizen Kane of bad movies to, well, the best bad movie ever made. But whatever phrase you prefer, the common theme here is that it's bad. Really bad. If its promotional campaign was to be believed, it was a dark, serious drama about a good-natured man with a seemingly perfect life, betrayed by his manipulative wife and his best friend, setting in motion a tragic chain of events that ruin his career and ultimately drives him to suicide. It sounds simple enough. It's the kind of made-for-TV drama you might find playing late night on some shitty cable channel. After a 3-week theatrical run, where it made a grand total of $1,900, it promptly vanished into obscurity, and most of those involved figured it would be never heard from again. But The Room was no ordinary movie. The Room was something very, very different, and it began to slowly amass a cult following over the years following its release. Plagued by technical glitches, acting so wooden you could build a fucking log cabin out of it, plot holes big enough to drive a train through, ludicrous dialogue and nonsensical subplots, it wasn't just ham-fisted, it was sausage-fingered, bacon-wristed and pork-thumbed. And that being said, it was still better than any of the crap Amy Schumer's been farting out in recent years. The Room is the kind of movie that's both painful and joyful to watch. It's basically a 90-minute train wreck intercut with two people having really awkward sex to an early 2000s R&B soundtrack. You can almost see the life draining out of the actor's eyes as the movie drags on. But the thing that cemented its legend as the best bad movie ever made was without a doubt writer, director, producer and star Tommy Wiseau. There's just never been anything quite like him before or since. Who was this lurching, leering, vile-mangling Frankenstein's monster? Where does his incomprehensible accent come from? How did he earn the $6 million to privately finance this movie? More important, how could he spend $6 million on a movie that looked this shit? Is he a vampire, a reanimated corpse, or an Eastern European mobster? The Disaster Artist, written by friend and reluctant Crow star Greg Sestero, tries to shed some light on these questions. It also charts the rise of The Room from an ill-conceived vanity project, through its long and troubled production to obscure indie flop, and finally to the global cult phenomenon that it's somehow grown into. And fuck me does it do a good job. The Disaster Artist can be seen as a game of two halves. One half focuses on Sestero's experiences during The Room's long and torturous production, which is both amusing and horrifying in equal measure. We get to see the driven but completely incompetent Wiseau trying and failing to tackle the momentous task of creating a movie, usually ignoring sound advice from his exasperated crew along the way. This is a man who very much does things his way, even if his way makes absolutely no sense. For example, confused about the difference between 35mm and HD cameras, he wastes $250,000 buying both and basically shoots the entire movie twice. Sets are struck down only to be rebuilt a few days later when he realises he has to shoot more scenes there. Tempers flare and arguments erupt as the shoot goes way over schedule, and the increasingly mutinous crew and cast try to keep up with Wiseau's bizarre and often ridiculous ideas. Actors are hired and fired at a minute's notice, only to be called back or replaced entirely with no explanation. And don't even get me started about the flying vampire car. For fans of the movie, it's a fascinating insight into how some of their most beloved scenes and characters came to be. It's also a brilliant study of what happens when a guy has too much money, too much power, too much ego, and no sense of when to rein them in. You can almost feel the growing despair and frustration from Sestero as what started out as a favour to a friend gradually turns into his own personal purgatory. I like to think this is how the cast of the rebooted Ghostbusters movie must have felt towards Paul Feig as it became clear he had no fucking idea what he was doing. These anecdotes would be entertaining enough by themselves, but where the book really shines is in trying to make sense of Wiseau himself through Sestero's unlikely, turbulent, funny, charming and occasionally disturbing friendship with the man. As a young actor who dreams of moving to Hollywood and becoming a movie star, Greg Sestero enrolls in a local acting class to learn the ropes. It's here that he first encounters fellow student Wiseau and sets in motion a chain of events that will ultimately lead to his reluctant starring role in The Room. The two men are about as different as two people can be. One's young, good-looking and outgoing, while the other's dark, secretive and eccentric. But their shared dream of stardom and success leads to them striking up an unlikely friendship. At first, Wiseau seems like a charmingly oddball character. He encourages Sestero to pursue his acting dreams, ignore criticism, and even gives him a place to stay in LA while he looks for parts. In between, they hang out, go on spur-of-the-moment trips together, and generally form a quirky friendship. He's a bit of a goofy big brother, or even a sort of father figure, but you can't help but warm to him a little as he pushes and motivates Sestero. But things change when Sestero finally catches a break and his acting career starts to take off, while Wiseau is left in his wake. Friendship and camaraderie gradually turns to jealousy, resentment, and even obsession as Wiseau senses his only friend starting to drift away from him. It's kind of sad to read, really, but Sestero, to his credit, generally portrays these moments fairly insensitively. Intercut with this are glimpses into Wiseau's early life in Eastern Europe, mostly pieced together from what little the man was prepared to reveal to his friend. We're never sure how much of it is real and how much he's holding back, but the basic thread seems believable. We find out some of the hardships, abuses and betrayals he went through in his life, and the physical and emotional scars they've left him with. They help to put the man's darkest moments into context and provide a welcome element of sympathy towards him. And I guess that brings me to the strongest aspect of the book. It's the author's ability to sensitively portray the playful and the monstrous sides of Wiseau's personality without really making a judgment one way or the other. At times he's shown as caring, fearless and upbeat. At others he's dark, sullen and aloof. But you get the sense that beneath all this, he's basically a rich, lonely man forever brooding on the things he can never have. Youth, good looks, friendship and acceptance. Which of these is the true Tommy Wiseau? I don't know, and to be honest, I don't really want to. Tommy Wiseau had a movie he wanted to make. A lot of people tried to stop him, often for very good reasons, but he ignored them all and fought hard to make his creative vision a reality. And ultimately, his creation brought joy to millions of people across the world. Maybe not in the way he'd intended, but that's more than most people ever manage in their lives. And perhaps through all the fan conventions, the midnight screenings and the online community that's grown up around his movie, maybe he's found an element of the acceptance he's always craved. In summary then, The Disaster Artist is just a joy to read. It's one of the few books to genuinely make me laugh out loud on multiple occasions, and that's nothing short of a fucking miracle considering what a miserable asshole I am. In a way, it also succeeds at tackling the very issues the room itself tries so clumsily to explore. Friendship and trust, ambition and pride, jealousy and betrayal, and most of all the powerful, inspiring, foolish and dangerous results of blindly following your dreams.